Okay, hi dear brothers and sisters. We're here to discuss the topic of, and I'm going to call it, going against the sense and reasoning of man and following wisdom. So that means to reason out texts in an otherwise sense, right? Coming up with a different meaning than what they've come to understand that they'll teach you off the pulpit. Now, a lot don't like that. But a lot are seeing the sense and reasoning of what is being said. Not only on this channel, hopefully, but others as well. So we're going to actually take a look at what it says about Babel, the Tower of Babel, and Genesis 11, and why it's not reasoning out what they typically teach you off of the pulpit that it means. Okay? Okay. Or maybe they don't teach you. They just read it and let you draw your own conclusions. Is that, we know that Babylon in the end is what's to be destroyed. And here we see the beginnings of what they tell us is Babylon. And it is. But it's not the way they teach it to us. Right? Not the way that you walk away after listening to some man off the pulpit typically. Pulpit, my accent, whatever. I may sound different. I hear things sometimes differently too. A lot differently now that I'm listening to wisdom. And I read and see and perceive things a little differently than most. Sorry, I didn't mean to babble there. Let's read what Genesis 11 says about the Tower of Babel and see what else we can ascertain that it's actually trying to tell us is going on here and get it through these thick skulls, myself included, all right? I include myself in that group. So we begin at verse 1, Genesis 11, verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. Okay. What's the earth moving towards right now? Right? Of one language, one speech. We're more or less moving in that direction. They're going to tell you that that's nasty. That's Babylon. Let's see what it really does say when we start to use our brains and allow the spirit of wisdom to teach us what this is actually saying. Verse 2, and it came to pass as they journeyed, as people migrated from the east, they found a valley in the land of Shinar. Now I didn't look up the pronunciation. I assume I'm saying that right. Maybe it's Shinar. But I say Shinar. You can say it whatever way you want to. That they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Now let's look that meaning up so we get an understanding of what we're looking at here. All right? What they're going to tell you it is. All right? Shinar, another name for Babylon. The interesting thing here is if you backtrack 1, backtrack 2, backtrack 3, you're going to hit Mount Hermon. 8149, Shinar or Sinur. What's that a name for? Hermon. It's interesting that they're so closely in name. What is that? Deuteronomy 4. What's Mount Hermon? Deuteronomy 4 verse 48 from Aurora. I can't say that word. I didn't look the pronunciation up on any of these. I was just busy studying right quick before I had to leave this morning. Which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is, what did they say? Hermon. So they're saying Hermon is another name for Mount Sion. Zion. That's what they just said. Okay. Which is interesting. Because 8149 is the Amorite name for Mount Hermon, which is Zion. Move ahead 1, move ahead another 1, and move ahead another 1, and you get 8152, Shinar, another name for Babylon. You see how closely linked we're getting with Zion, Hermon, and Shinar? Their names are very close, very close. So I'm not going to draw from that. I'll just let you make your own conclusions. But it's interesting, isn't it? Nevertheless. So, we're going to look at more words to understand that this is not the Babylon that you think it is. All right? I know, there's only one Babylon. You're right. But what happens when the ones that come to be in authority can write whatever they want? All right? But yet they still have to more or less tell you, when you reason it out, what was actually going on. And you can reason it out, what was really going on. Now, I'm sorry, I'm being so convoluted here. But by the end, hopefully, we'll have made our point. Okay. Let's go back out and keep reading in Genesis 11. So they found a plain in the land of Shinar, Babylon, and they dwelt there. Verse 3, and they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. Now we're going to look at verse 3 in a minute, all right? So that's Genesis 11, verse 3, that we're going to take a look at some of the words and see if we can really understand what was really being constructed when they were doing this in verse 3. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly, or thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make a name, lest we be scattered. Who got scattered? Who got scattered? Israel, correct? Israel got scattered around the globe. Here we're seeing a scattering around the globe. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. All right. Now, and the Lord came down to see the city. The Lord here, I don't think it's a Lord. I'll be honest. I think it's a man who put himself on high and became a high Lord. All right? And he came down to see. Now, I didn't explain that the best. Okay? Because I'm still getting my brain around all this information myself. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men had built it. Really, the children of men? I'll tell you, I don't think it was the children of men. I think it was the children of the daughter. And I'll tell you why, if you follow, all right? You know, even Solomon, King Solomon, after we discovered the link between 666 and this false covenant and how it links back to him and what he was putting in play, along with many other men, because it's repetitive throughout the Old Testament, what they were really doing. But even King Solomon says, a fool don't disregard something without actually listening and hearing it. Now, people say, well, I listen to her videos. Not going blip, blip, blip. You're not listening to nothing. You're getting a misconstrued story. That's what you're getting. But when you listen, most people don't want to listen because they don't believe as firmly in what they call their faith as they claim they do. All right? But even Solomon says, a fool will disregard an argument without at least listening to it. And that's what most people do, because I'll tell you why. They're afraid. They're afraid of listening to the reasoning of wisdom and how their faith is not going to hold up. And it's not. I can tell you under close scrutiny, it does not hold up. It does not hold water, but it's pretending that it's the water. So anyway, so lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So they wanted to build city and towers. A tower has the idea of a high-rise even, really. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of women had built, the children of daughters had built. Remember, Shira built cities. She built 3 herself. And when women tend to build cities, women build cities, back in the Old Testament, before they tramped us down under their foot man-made law, when they built cities, they tended to build in the lower places of the earth. Even if it was a hill or what you call a mountain, it tended to be the lower ones, not the higher ones that the men love to get on top of and play king and God. Which is the Lord here that I believe is actually looking down. It says, let us, right? Let us go down. It doesn't say the Lord in that particular passage. I think they just threw this Lord here. That's what I think. Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. There we go with one language. And here in the end, we're moving towards that one language again, aren't we? Yeah, we are. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. All right. So we have them, and it is an us looking down. Let us go down, and there will confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. You know what gets harder? When a group of people who believes all the same thing gets scattered, you know what it makes them? It makes them pray. That's what it makes them. Yeah. Easy pickings. Much easier pickings to pick them off. That's what it is. So just bear that in mind. And there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad. From thence, it wasn't the Lord, the let us go down and confound their language. And I had looked up some words. I just didn't get a time to take the notes down that I should have taken. Forgive me. You might want to go and look at some of these words. You're going to understand a few things for yourself, hopefully. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. What city? What city do you suppose they left off building? It was not Babylon. It was not. That's what got established when this so-called Lord, it says, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand. I think one of the words I looked up was understand. Now, I don't know if it was this particular verse. Understand, to hear. You see, understand means to hear. Let's write that down. Just so I might need it again. I may not. Shama, to hear. And they have it translated as understand. Okay. To hear. It's not fascinating? Isn't that fascinating? To hear. To understand, to hear. To hear, to understand what? Okay. So they want to confuse their language and break them apart and separate them. Because they've proposed in their hearts, together as one people, to build a city that reaches into the heavens. Okay. So let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand, hear one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off. They stopped building the city. What city? Therefore is the name of it called Babel. That's right. It's not Babylon. It's not. Because the Lord there confound the language of all the earth. Okay, so maybe it is. This was the establishment of Babylon. That's what it was. It was not the establishment of God's city, the holy city. All right, we're going to look at some of the words. It's going to link us directly back to Lebanon. You know what Lebanon means? Whiteness, purity, where the law of God was to be found. Now here it says, therefore is the name of this called Babel, because the Lord, what Lord scattered them? Did they confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Right. Okay. What got established right then and there when they got scattered? What got established? It was Babylon itself that got scattered. When these lords, high lords, kings, gods, come down and scattered the daughters, their job was to actually build the house in the forest of Lebanon, where the government of God met, and to teach and to flow out from that the laws of earth. All right? That's not what happened. So let's look at verse 3. Why do we think it might be Lebanon? Not only that, we're going to pull in another chapter here in a minute. Okay, interlinear. Verse 3, and they said one to another, come, let us make, let me see if this is one of the words, let us make, 3835, Laban, to be white, a brick, to be white, Laban. This is one of the derivatives of Lebanon. A brick. It would not be linked to Babylon. It would not. It would be linked to Lebanon, the house and the force of Lebanon. Let us make bricks. Again, we'll hit bricks. Brick, tile, lebina. 3843, noun feminine. A brick, a tile. You see your stones? You already see your stones here. Your white stones. In the house and the forest of Lebanon. Purity. We're getting to the law of heaven. The water that was to flow out of this tower, out of this city of God. That's what we're getting, whether you know it or not. The only way that the fact that this world becomes Babylon is that they tore the people apart. They scatter them abroad because they rejected the government of God, the Spirit of God, the law of God, which is where the law would have flowed out from this place here that they are demolishing and tearing down. Altar of brick, tile, from Laban, a brick, from the whiteness of the clay. Altar of bricks, tile. Okay, and bake, to burn in a fire. Completely burned, made, undertaken. All right, so that's to temper, right? To temper the stones, the brick. All right, thoroughly or thoroughly. And they had brick again, 3843, white. Brick tile. They had this. And the stone, for stone. That's feminine, a stone. This is talking about the house and the force of Lebanon, this great tower. They've got you all in viewing it as wrong, that this is Babylon that was destroyed. No, it's not. This was the city of God that Babylon was destroying and scattering the people. Why would you scatter the people? You would scatter the people and separate them because it's easy pickings in a war. To bring them under subjugation, under your law system, which is what these high lords were up to. Right? We get the stone here, white, and asphalt. Okay, that's masculine, the asphalt. Reddish brown color, seething, swelling up. Used for cement and building. Babel, right? So they just stuck Babel on it, right? It's not Babylon. This was not Babylon. This was the city of God where we were all one and where the law was to flow from the mouth of God's chosen ones, the daughters of Israel. That's why you're getting all the reference to white stones here. It was Lebanon that was in view. But we get the establishment of the curse coming out of this location when they chose to reject the house and the forest of Lebanon, which was being built here. Why? How do we know that? They're trying to stop us actually from coming together as one unit. They're playing the bad. They're saying it's bad if we all come together under one law. We're supposed to come together under God's law, but not under man's law and all his religious lies and laws, which is where we're going for. We were to receive the law of heaven at her mouth, at her daughter's mouth. You weren't to worship, male or female. That's idol worship. We can go to Deuteronomy 4 for that. Let's do that right quick before we go to Zechariah 5. What does it say? There's a passage right in Deuteronomy 4. You think you are not under idol worship. You are under idol worship, which makes you not fit for the heavens. You turned away from God's law a long time ago. Where is it? Deuteronomy 4. Warning against idolatry. Do you understand what idolatry is? It means bowing down to an idol. But no, not Jesus. What do you think Jesus is if that is not an idol? And he is everywhere. He is a superstar. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb, out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female. Oh, look at that. It even got the nerve and brass to include male. Look at that. You think you're not under idol worship? Sure you are. I just told you were. Well, that's the Old Testament. Of course it's the Old Testament. Go study it. But they don't want to hear it. So Genesis 11, they tear the house in the forest of Lebanon. This is just this is a recycling over and over that you'll get. When they get scattered, we see her seeking out a covenant with a group of men, these daughters, who are rejected, that will follow the laws of God. We see her doing that. Where do we see her doing that? It gets repeated over and over. Let's go in and we'll read it. I hadn't planned on reading this chapter, but it's there. They've got all the... So we'll start in verse 1. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. This is the daughters of Israel speaking, the daughter herself. But there were many daughters inside the nation of Israel that hearkened to this law. They came directly from the God in heaven, which earth was to be under, and gave their hand in that covenant and said, yes, we'll follow the laws of heaven. Then when she comes to establish the government of God, they tear her down and they attack her because she was allotted a portion. Earth was her portion, and she may have had other allotments. And you know what these men did? They attacked her wrongfully, and they stole her portion and put it under a man-made religious law and law so they could build themselves up. And that's what the Old Testament tells you over and over when you get your gender correct. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herbs, and as the showers upon the grass. So after they get scattered and separated, and their language is confounded, how that took place, I don't know. There's a very supernatural aspect. And that's easily to be understood by certain words in the New Testament, and I keep forgetting to locate this, but I hit it more than once when I was studying in the New Testament. And that is that God is the top at science, God is the top at biology, God is the top of spiritual, God understands all things. So if we're, in a sense, archaic-minded people, some says we function on that lizard brain, that lower brain. Well, that lizard brain came from the chameleon Adam in the garden, teaching us a lie. That chameleon brain. Can't think above it, can you? But if we're archaic in our knowledge, in our understanding, it's very primitive compared to the God in heaven who understands science, they're going to feel like gods to us. Now, I'm not saying that isn't God. That's not what I'm saying. Because there certainly is an element here that we're not completely understanding, and that is a spiritual element for sure. But if God is so far above us in science and technology and by all these things, then God is out of our reach. We're not going to understand all those things. So, we're not gonna, let me see, I forget my thought where I was going with that. So God is far above us in our understanding. And if we're broke apart and scattered, then, and that language were confounded, that's what it was, the language was confounded, and you know, they'll even show it in movies, and this is certainly one possibility. They have translators, you know, that just automatically feeds what they're saying to you. So though these people may have come to build this government of God on earth, and they may have come from the four corners of heaven to build together the government on earth to give the law after they said, yeah, we're going to be in covenant under this law, and then they get attacked, it would be easy to scatter them because they would have their hands on technology, an understanding that is far above the archaic mind that just teaches man as God, and bound to that. Instead of picking your head up and understanding that there is a great spiritual battle going on here. And this was what was going on at the heart of it all. He wanted her territory, and he got her territory. And this is one part where it shows you he got it. But here, after they get scattered, she tries again. They try again when they get cut off from the heavenlies. Because I will publish the name of the Lord, ascribe ye greatness unto our God. She is the rock. We've already studied this. She is the rock. We got the stone, 68 identified. Lebanon, the government of God, rejected, who were the daughters where no guile was found on their tongue. That's why you get whiteness, purity. Her work is perfect, for all her ways are judgment, a God of truth and without iniquity. Just and right is she. But after she went out and she chose another group to work through, she said, these will now be my people. This is what we see going on here. She says they have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of her children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Do you thus requite the Lord, O foolish people and unwise? Is not she thy mother that has bought thee? She is your mother and creator. That's how some of the others translate it. Didn't she not make thee and establish thee? Yes, she did. He didn't make you. Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations, and ask thy mother, and she will show thee, thy elders, thy wise women, and they will tell thee. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, and when she separated the sons of Adam, she set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Oh, did he? Well, if she did it, it was to try the heart of man. And if it was to try the heart of man, so far he has failed pretty darn miserably. She found him. This is where we get it. She found him in a desert land and in the waste, howling wilderness. She led him about, she instructed him, and she kept him as the apple of his eye, her eye. Now, we can also translate this over to women. Because when the people got scattered, she's left as this small group. So she's also looking for her daughters, her branch to work through, as well as the men that will follow the laws of these daughters. You get it? So as an eagle stirreth up her nest, fluttereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, and beareth them on her wings. So she alone did lead him/her. And there was no strange God with him. This takes us back to Malachi 2, where it says, you married the daughter of a strange God. That's right. And you dealt treacherously with the spirit, the wife of the original covenant. You see what's going on? They tore her city down. They would not hearken to her message when she came here in covenant. So she made him ride. Okay, we can go on. But we get the idea. She chose them out. After the scattering, she chose them out. All right. Genesis 11. Back again. We see them tearing her city down. It was not Babylon. Babylon is what came about after the tearing down of this city. How do we know that? What can validate that? Zechariah 5 validates it. This goeth forth over the whole earth, a flying scroll. Now I tend to think that's the law, the new law that come in after he tore her house in the forest of Lebanon down and established the harlot spirit in the land Shinar and gave it a place to live. Oh, so it is the establishment of Babylon, but it's the establishment of Babylon after they break her house apart and scatter us upon the globe. Everything's waking up right now. We got earthquakes, we got volcanic eruption. Why that can be a good thing if we got our case in order for the Ancient of Days. It can also spell our doom. That's right. Because if those all go off, with the constant shaking, what's it going to do to the people in the land? You know what it's going to do? It's going to scatter us again. That's what it's going to do. And that's what they're really wanting. They want to scatter us and break us apart. They do not want us to come together in knowledge and understanding of what our curse is in this land and to rectify that problem. That's what's going on right now. They do not want the sleeping giant in the land picking her head up and waking up. Where do we get the sleeping giant? Where do we get it? I'll show you. For those who don't know where I'm going. Okay. This is the sleeping giant in the land. Psalm 78:65. Then the Lord 136, daughter Israel's number. We've established that. Putting this all together. Then the Lord awoke us from sleep as a warrior wakes. Oh, look at the woke. Yeah, she's supposed to wake up and take her part and establish the law of God in the heavens that was to be found through her mouth, not husbands, not Baals. So, the warrior awakes, the Lord here, as a warrior wakes from the stupor of wine. That's right. That takes us to Romans 11. We've studied that one. So, what else do we get? Psalm 44:23. Wake up, O Lord. Wake up. You're a giant. You don't realize that when we get together, instead of being scattered around the globe for easy pickings by these men who wants to rule over you and take your goods from you, and take the law for your tongue and create violence against you, you're easy pickings that way. And that's why they want you scattered again. They'll tell you, oh, they want to bring us all together. Bull. I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Psalm 44:23. Wake up, O Lord. Why are you sleeping? Arise, do not reject us forever. That's the Spirit. Wake up. Like one waking from a dream, so you, O Lord, awaken and despise their form. She's drunk on wine. Then the Lord awoke as from sleep like a strong, not man, it's a woman. We get her in Isaiah 42. Long time have I held my peace. Now will I go forth as a travailing woman, and I will destroy and I will devour your lies out of the land as I deliver my children through the truth. And I will divide that admixture of doctrine with the law of heaven, the truth. And not your lies. It's got womankind down at the feet of an idol, of a male god. That's 5 billion people strong on this world, bowed to male god. You think that don't empower them under the law? You better take a look around. Like one waking from a dream? Yep, so you despise their form. What's form there? It's a male idol. That's the form there that gets despised by this Lord. This is the sleeping giant in the land. They don't want to wake up. The Lord goes forth like a mighty one. She stirs up her zeal like a warrior. She shouts, yes. She roars in triumph over her enemies. Zechariah 2:13. Be silent before the Lord. This is her. All people, for she has roused herself, awakened herself from her holy dwelling. Get it? Wake up. The Lord of hosts will shield them. They will destroy and conquer with sling stones. They will drink and roar as with wine. And they will be filled with sprinkling bowls drenched like the corners of an altar. So we may be looking at the opposite of all of this, of her waking up. And maybe we're not. Maybe we're not. They like to tell us a man died. Well, if that's true, then that's a ritual of sacrificing this male lawyer on the cross, which we have not done. Joshua upheld her law in the Old Testament, is what we're told. He upheld it. And he didn't uphold it to go, I'm Lord over you and you better listen to me, woman, I'm your head. That's not what it says. He knew he was her equal. He knew she was his equal. It wasn't Jesus saying, even as Jesus is head of this church, so too is man head of his wife. What a load of bull. It is. Oh, wait, it is a load of bull. It's from Baal, the dung god. Another name for your husband, Baal. 1167, which is derived directly from 1168, which is Baal your idol. So we see the Lord waking up. We need the sleeping giant to wake up to the truth. That's what we need. Arise, O Lord, in thine anger. Lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies. And awake for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. Isaiah 51:9. Awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of the Lord. That's all female. We studied who the daughters of Israel is. And it's the Lord that dismembers Rahab, Leviathan, she. Connect Isaiah 51, Isaiah 52, and Psalm 89. Awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of the Lord. Awake as in the ancient days. In the generations of old. Art thou not she? They got it. No, she. That hath cut Rahab and wounded the dragon. What's another name for Rahab? Egypt. You're a witness to this truth. And you can either stand up for this truth, or you can keep bowing down at the feet of a male idol. Which it says, when this Lord wakes up, she despises its form. Which is male. Look it up. Let's look it up. They are like a dream when one awakes. When you rise, Lord, you will despise them as like their fantasies. So their image, 6754, masculine. An image. It means a male idol. Jesus is an idol. Do you not get what it said in Deuteronomy 4? And then they tell you in the New Testament, oh no, a man's blood can save you. When it keeps telling us no man can die for another, you're going to stand for your own sins. And then say, don't worry, you're forgiven under a man. Despite what the Old Testament told you. It never said it was sending you a man. It said for you to live by the laws of God, which was found at daughter Israel's mouth, not an idol. An idol. Okay, so back to Zechariah 5. And she said, what do you see? And I answered, I see a flying scroll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Now, I ain't studied that. There's more to that. In that verse right there. Why those dimensions, I haven't yet discerned it yet. Anyway. Then said she unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off on that side according to it. That's the law in the land. Let's read a different version. Then she said unto me, this is the curse that is going over the whole earth. For every thief will be removed according to what is written on one side of this scroll, which is a lie. And everyone who swears falsely, that's your false oath takers, to God's law. And he turned on it and wrote his own law and put her in subjugation to him. Like he's God and an idol. And he is an idol. Sorry, I said that wrong. And everyone who swears falsely will be removed according to what is written on the other side of it. You get it? The lie in the land is the law system. And that came about when they tore her house in the forests of Lebanon and Babylon got established. It was not the tower that was Babylon. It's what came after that was Babylon. The scattering of the holy people. And they were stopping the government of God from going forth. That reasons. That's what reasons. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name. You took an oath and said you would live under my laws, under my commandments, and then you tore my system down. And it shall remain in the midst of her house, his house, and we are looking at Babylon, the harlot, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. So that's again that mighty fire. The fire is the law of heaven. In some capacity. Verse 5. We get a further understanding. Why what they tore down was the city of God, was the white Lebanon. Lebanon means the whiteness from the mountains. They tore the government of God down, known as a house in the forest of Lebanon. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, lift up now thine eyes and see what is this that goeth forth. Men loves to preach this one off the pulpit. I've heard it many times. I've heard many of the selected passages that retrieved the female side of it. Yeah. Oh yeah, they love to include us in there. As little as it was included enough to do this. That's what their law does. That's what their law does. And I said, what is it? And she said, this is an ephah. That means a basket that goeth forth. It's a measurement. It's a basket that holds a certain measurement within it. This is an ephah, which they used for the first fruits, right? If the first fruits are holy, the lump is also holy, but the first fruits wasn't holy. So therefore, the lump, the body, was also not holy. This is an ephah that goeth forth, she said, moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead. And this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. They're weighing her down. They're forcing her in the basket. And she said, this is wickedness. And she cast it into the midst of the ephah. And she cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof. And then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Then said I to the angel that talked with me, whither do these bear the ephah? And she said unto me, to build it a house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base. That's Babylon, not Babel. You see how it reasons out? They did. They built up the harlot spirit. They did. And we saw that division entering in behind her back. She says, they tell lies about me and I don't know where they're getting it from. You know where they were gnashing. We get it in Psalm 22. Sorry, I did not mean this video to be this long. Psalm 22. What does it say? You know what gnashing means. And she says to her daughter Israel, I believe it's Isaiah 41, she says, it may be 42, she said, I will make your teeth a new threshing instrument, a new gnashing with the truth. Right? Psalm 22. What does it say? I just want one particular verse. If it's here, I may have the wrong chapter. Right here. They gnashed on her. Right here. Many bulls have compassed me. Strong bulls of Bashan have beset me round. The daughters of Israel. The bulls. The men inside the nation of Israel actually turned on these women in covenant. They gaped upon me with their mouth as a ravening and a roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax, it is melted in the midst of my bowels. We see the waters poured out. She's no longer delivering the word of God, the law of God. The bulls of Bashan have took at her. Now, there is a passage that says they literally gnash. They gnashed upon me. Let me see if I can locate it. I doubt, but it might. It's Psalm 35. Like the godless, like the ungodly, they maliciously mocked and they gnashed their teeth at me. What was the meaning of teeth? Arrows. What's a bow? A covenant. And we see them gnashing at the daughters of Israel as they pass over the wall, right? And Joseph's blessings in Genesis 49. And your word there for archers is Baal, husband, Lord and master. Gnashing. That's why she says to the daughter of Israel, let's find it. Isaiah 41, I think. Isaiah. I will make you a new threshing instrument. I think is how it says it. Isaiah 41. See, I will make you into a threshing sledge. new and sharp with many teeth. My covenant abode in strength. The law of God will abide. You will thresh the mountains. Oh, that's your he-goats who climbed the mountain. They were looking down as she was building up her city and going, we don't have to put up with this. We can go down and tear that down. We can scatter them. We can confound the languages. And it'll make them easy pickings. Yeah, we can tear them down. They don't have to come together as one nation. The sleeping giant in the land is the daughters. That's the sleeping giant that they are so terrified that's going to wake up and come against their law and testify against them. Oh, they can lead it all back to money and to pharmaceutical products and selling more of this, selling more of that. It comes down to one thing. They want to put that yoke back on your neck and put you in bondage under their law. And they're trying to keep the giant asleep. When are you ever going to wake up and take your own part, God? That's what it says. Stand up and take up your own cause, God. Behold, I will make you into a threshing sledge, new and sharp with many teeth. You will thresh the mountains and crush them and reduce the hills to chaff. And she's supposed to. You will winnow them, and a wind will carry them away. A gale will scatter them. That means to scatter the wicked. We get the mountain that she's going to winnow with the spirit. That's what wind means. And that's allegorical to the mountains, or the mountain of Zion, the daughters of Israel, that's cut out without hands, reborn out of the dust of the earth, holding the truth of God on their tongue, smashing the toes of the idol in Daniel 2. It's all there. She says, I'll winnow them, and the wind will carry them away. A gale will scatter them, but you will rejoice in the Lord. You will glory in the Holy One of Israel. And then she says in Zechariah 4, I will bring forth my own capstone. That's female. That's female. That's where the law was to flow from, her mouth, the daughters of Israel's mouth. That's what they were known as. And they had come from the four corners of heaven. This was a heavenly battle, and it is still playing out. It is still playing out. And we see it playing out. Anyway, you're the sleeping giant. You're the Lord that awakens as if you are a warrior that's been drunk on wine. Wine is the admixture. The blood dripped in the pure water of the law of God, law of heaven. That's why the witness testifies. The Spirit will testify to the blood and the water in the land, right? Yeah. But you got to part the Red Sea to deliver your children out through with the sword, the actual word that is sharper than any two-edged sword, which we found actually the harlot spirit willing to bow to the idol, held in Proverbs 5, and it's called wormwood. Wormwood is another word for the lying poisonous system in the belly of mankind, because it tickles his ears. It's like honey on his tongue from the harlot willing to bow. But these daughters parts it with the true word of God, which is sharper than any two-edged sword. But she says, I come not to bring peace. You're going to have to make your choice. No man can die for another. The Old Testament told you that repeatedly. And God says, I ask no blood of you. I ask for you to follow my word, which is identified as the water or the law from the daughters inside the nation of Israel, and you turned on them. You dealt treacherously with the wife of your youth. That's what it says. So there's the video. Oh, it's not as long as I thought. I felt like it'd been over an hour. Yeah, there's something to be said. But anyway, thanks for watching. It's a beautiful day here. It's mild. It's getting real spring-like. Thank God for that. I pray the Lord blesses you with an abundance of truth. I hope you all enjoying beautiful weather, not nasty weather. And, I hope you're willing to take, if you've not bothered to look at the information, if you've hit on these videos and you don't want anything to do with them, that you will actually decide within your heart, well, look, how can I reject it if I can't even be bothered to listen? And I'm so fearful that my own faith is going to stagger in these words. Well, then you can't be really founded that solidly on what you believe if you're that afraid you can't be bothered to listen to what I'm saying. And go watch the other videos to get the full theology and understand we're still studying, we're still learning, we're still, you know, we were to make no idols, neither male nor female, of any god. The truth of heaven came off the daughters' tongues. It was the law of heaven that he had taken his oath to. And he turned on that law. He did. So anyway, there it is. Again, thank you for watching. And I hope y'all have a really nice day. And thanks again.